Good evening. This is the Elliott Wave update for the S&P 500 for Thursday, March 24th, 2022. Another strong update today in the S&P, actually in all the markets. The S&P did not stay below the 50 moving average and the 20. In fact, we started today's session basically right at the 50 and 20-day moving average. As you can see right here, we held it, got above it, and then just blasted. And that pretty much, we had a little bit of a sideways action for most of the day, the internal day. So from 12 noon to about 2 o'clock. Then that last hour, they just came back in and they pushed, and they finally did get to additional highs just above 1475. We got up to 1750, and then we got up to 1725 thus far. Now, what's going on? Well, as you can see, I have switched around. I'll just move this over just a tad. Just push this over to here because that's where it should be. I brought up some of my new third wave. So I moved wave 3 and 4 to better reflect what's going on. And that keeps us in the fifth wave up. And that being the case, we are now within 5 points of that resistance at 45.23, I'm going to call it. But if we get a move like we did today, then we're going to be looking at 45.69. And again, that break point that I would not want to see the S&P cover or go across in terms of what the larger count is. If we're going to continue to count that we're in an intermediate third wave down, and this is minor wave 1 and we're completing minor wave 2, the market cannot break above 45.85. A break above 45.85 changes that count over to what I have described in the past, where instead of intermediate 1 and 2, it would be intermediates wave A and B. And this, as marked as minor 1, would become intermediate wave C. Underneath it would be primary wave A. That would be suggesting that this is intermediate A, intermediate B of a larger primary B wave, and we're within the C wave of a primary B wave. So intermediate wave C would definitely be looking to break above that 85 level and on up towards 46.44, 46.72, high as 47.66, etc. I am definitely at this stage not necessarily looking for an irregular B wave, which would suggest we go above 4,808, but it would not be removed from the realm of possibilities on a break above 45.86. So keeping that in mind, right now I am believing that the market is going to complete this thing. We're very close. If we blow through all of this, then the count would definitely change, and these become minor degree waves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 within an intermediate degree C wave. But that it has to break all of that first. Okay, so on the daily, what I want to look at, we remain pretty solidly above the 200 and the 50. Now the 50 has turned and crossed above that 200. The daily 8 and 4 have crossed above the 200 and the 50. What's left is the 20. Once the 20 gets above the daily 200 and the 50, then we are in alignment to continue on a daily basis higher and higher. So with that also still needs to happen. Right now, we did get a fairly bullish close. It was a good bar. It was a solid bar. It was a bullish engulfing. After we had a bearish engulfing, it was a bullish engulfing. And so it was bullish, bearish, bullish. We'll see what this one ends up. But I think that if we had a 3 and a 4, and I think even if I bring this back down to that hourly chart, it looks like we still need like 1, 2, and this is a 3, and then we get a little 4, maybe back down to 45.06, maybe even down to 44.96, and then launch again to 44.23. And then I'd be, depending on how far down we get to how far that fifth wave will carry it, well, then I'd be looking possibly that this may hold. But if we only get down to 44.06, well, it may not, because the rallies have been so intense. And as we continue to break above previous highs and resistance, it just pulls in a whole nother group. Also, tomorrow is a weekly expiration, and stocks in play for that are Apple, AMD, Amazon, Google, Facebook, NVIDIA jumped in the game today, and Tesla, along with Boeing could be. So again, we have the crossovers that are in common stocks with the NASDAQ and the S&P, which also carry higher weightings in the S&P as they do in the NASDAQ. So again, Tesla, Amazon, Google, Facebook, and Apple all carry a little bit heavier weightings in both indexes. So solid buys in those, because again, they're in play in terms of strikes. So right now in Apple, it's looking 175. And Amazon is probably looking at 3,300. In, let me go down my list. In AMD, which saw some strength today, it's, I think, 120, but next one up is 125. So again, we've got some play coming on here. Google, we're looking at 2850. And Facebook, we're looking at 2020 to 2025, or 220 to 225. And Tesla, it's already above 1,000. That was the strike, but now that's shifted to 1,050. So we're seeing where, you just can see where the calls start to collect, where the open interest starts to collect. And that's normally going to be where they're going to try to push it. So for tomorrow, please continue to leave upside potential for the market. If we do reach our top, we're going to know, because I'm telling you that in my mind, the higher we go, the higher that cliff becomes, and the steeper the drop off of it will be. Now, so we will, if we start to come down, we're going to, this was a good start. I will tell you, this was a very good start, but you can see it stopped and then they reversed. So what I'm talking about is not going to stop. In fact, even within our time zone, in the time frame that we're using, the hourly, it should break the 4, the 8, the 20, the 50, 44.50, which will be support coming off, break the low, avoid 4, start heading towards 4,400. Now, can it do that in one day? Yes. Yes, because what I'm feeling is going to happen, again, it's going to be a right hook to the jaw of the market. It's going to knock out the market. It's going to knock out the buyers. It's not going to be able to get up off that mat, because whatever is going to create the sell, I believe, is going to be news driven. And there's plenty of things out there on which to hang your hat on, having the ability to turn this market lower and strongly lower and produce what I would consider crash-like scenarios. So, but for tomorrow, I'm still looking for upside. And downside should be limited. Again, as I just said, probably down to maybe 44.96, could go even a little lower. Maybe it gets down towards that 20, which is at 44.85. But I'm not thinking too much below if we're still going to have that upside to do. If we do this overnight and we get up there and we start to collapse, well, then we've got our story. We know what we've just done, likely finish this minor wave 2. So be on the lookout, trade with the market, not against the market. Continue to trade smart. It's much easier to trade with the market than against. And our next update will be on Sunday, the 27th of March.